Today I'd like to share a little gossip with you. I'm going to tell you the story of a woman who shared her bed with strangers. Are you surprised or even a little shocked by that? Well, let me go a little further and say that our faith as Christians and as Franciscans is built on gossip just like this. We've become accustomed to a Christian faith that is nice and a Franciscan spirituality that is tender. But actually, this faith that we claim was never meant to be tame. Instead, it was originally countercultural. This is a faith that shocks and even scandalizes with its raw vulnerability and relationality that overturns common expectations of success, power, and happiness. The seeds for this overturning of expectations is done with gossip. Now, it might not be the gossip that comes readily to mind, however. Eric Partridge, in his book on English etymology, reports that the word gospel and its related term godspell are antecedents to the verb to gossip, coming from the verb to see God. So, to gossip, to tell stories, is to see God. Kathleen Norris, in her book Dakota, reveals that the noun gossip, that is, someone is a gossip, that comes from the words God and sib, or sibling. So together, God-sib was someone who is an especially familiar acquaintance, such a close friend you might invite her to attend a birth, or someone with whom you share a personal conversation. A gossip is an intimate, someone with whom you dare to be vulnerable, someone with whom you share a real relationship. It would seem then that our Gospels are gossip about Jesus, and we are meant to be gossips. Now, frankly, we may never be able to reframe the popular meaning of the word gossip back to its original intent, but as people of faith, we have daily opportunities to tell stories or holy gossip as spiritual practice. Saints are especially good subject matter for this holy gossip, and today is an ideal day to tell a particularly juicy piece of holy gossip. It's the feast day of Elizabeth of Hungary, the 13th century daughter of a Hungarian royalty, who is known as the patron of the Third Order of Franciscans, also known today as the secular Franciscan order. But I actually think her significance goes much further. Like all saints and like all gossip, the stories we tell reveal our own state of mind and our state of soul. Saints like Elizabeth had such rich and complex lives, there are many ways to tell her story. So what we choose to tell and how we tell it reflects our own attractions, awareness, and sensibilities. Now, I can say that over the years, as I have told the story of Elizabeth to students and retreatants, the way I tell her story changes as I have changed. For many years, I liked to emphasize Elizabeth's royal standing and the life of privilege and prestige that she sacrificed in order to serve the poor. Because I often teach through images, I would bring in photos of paintings depicting her famous miracle of bread turning to roses. The story roughly goes that Elizabeth, having brought bread and eggs from the family dining hall to share with the less fortunate in town, ran into her husband, who wondered what she was carrying under her cloak. Knowing that there was little support in the household for her charitable acts, Elizabeth only reluctantly opened her mantle, but was surprised, as was her husband, to find instead of the food she had taken, a bouquet of roses. Now, around the time I got married, a different side of Elizabeth interests me. She is one of the very few Catholic saints who appeared to have loved her husband, Ludwig, with whom she shared a mutually devoted and even fun-loving family life. By all accounts, they doted on each other and their children like young couples in love do. We don't hear enough about holy Catholics who were giddy in love, do we? Now, while her family life continues to resonate with me today, I'd like to turn to the fact that she shared her bed with strangers. Her care for those who were ill was so radical that she cared for them in her own bed. Now imagine for a moment taking in a stranger, someone who was ill, perhaps even someone with the dreaded and feared condition of leprosy, and bringing them into your home and caring for them in your own bed. Sit with this image for a moment. Sitting next to them while cooling their fever with a cool cloth, propping them up with your pillows so you can feed them soup, caring for all of their physical needs. This is a kind of radical hospitality that we rarely experience in our world. But this is the radical hospitality that this holy woman teaches us if we dare to enter into her story enough to tell it. Now, many people forget that the word hospitality derives from the Latin word hospice, which means both host and guest. Hospitality requires a relationship between host and guest. We'll miss the real meaning of Elizabeth's faith here if we think that she is merely helping the indigent and ill. No, her offering of her bed allowed proximity and vulnerability with these people. It was in this exposed vulnerability of caregiving that she could see Christ in them, and they could see Christ in her. Her serving the poor and ill opened the way for mutual transformation to occur. This kind of mutual transformation is at the heart of radical hospitality. Imagine what our lives could be like if we entered the path of radical hospitality like Elizabeth of Hungary shows us. We might start seeing Christ all around us.